Welcome to Cinecynics.
I'm Mark,
I'm Craig.
and if you live in an apartment, close your blinds. Remember what happened in Rear Window?
So the Hangover Part 3 trailer was just released, and boy does it look like it's all the same.
Yeah, to a large extent, it does. It looks... the second one was very derivative of the first. It was still funny, but only because the first one is funny. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still gonna go see this one, hoping that perhaps it'll be as funny as the first. But it really looks like they keep repeating themselves after they kept saying that they wouldn't do that. And why are they choosing to go back to Vegas again?
Here is a letter to Todd Phillips. Stop making the same movie over and over again.
Edward Norton has just joined the cast of Birdman with Micheal Keaton about an aging film star once famous for playing an iconic superhero who's now attempting to restart his career on Broadway.
And Edward Norton is playing this egotistical leading man whose character is going to be a pain in the ass for Micheal Keaton. And it's shaping up to be a really interesting cast. You got Emma Watson, Naomi Watts, Zach Galifianakis, and it's going to be a dark-humored comedy, so I'm looking forward to it.
And considering Micheal Keaton's history as Batman, it seems like the plot of this movie is a little bit tongue firmly in cheek. And it's also interesting how it's in itself it mirrors his career where, he was once famous as Batman, and then afterwards kind of drifted into these more low-key parts. So I'm really excited to see how he's going to play that up.
Harrison Ford has just recently joined the cast for Anchorman 2 as a Tom Brokaw-type character, and I'm really excited about this because not many people may know it that Harrison Ford is actually funny. And if you saw him in the news anchor movie,
Morning Glory, which
he was really funny in.
If I weren't already excited enough about the fact that Anchorman 2 is actually getting made, this news has certainly raised my expectations for this movie even higher. And this comes on other great casting news of Kristen Wiig and James Marsden joining this picture. And Harrison Ford is certainly one of my favorite actors of all time, and he is really funny. And, and this role being similar to that of A Morning Glory, so this is kind of familiar territory to him now. So I really look forward to see what he does with this part. And to wrap things up, the final trailer for Iron Man 3 has just been released.
Yeah, this looks like it's going to be an amazing movie. It's going to follow very closely with the comic books. And if you noticed at the end of the trailer, there's some armors there that you may not have seen in any of the other movies, like the stealth armor, Ultimate Iron Man. They had the Hulk Crusher, the Hulk Smasher Iron Man suit, which looked really cool, and maybe some sort of foreboding that he might have to use that in another movie, maybe say Avengers 2, which would be really, really cool. And this is just going to be a really good movie. I can't wait.
This certainly promises to be the most epic Iron Man movie to date, and Sir Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin looks awesome. And I just can't wait to see more of what Shane Black has done with Tony Stark's dialogue. Dead Man Down, directed by Niels Arden Oplev, stars Colin Farrell as a rising figure in a New York crime syndicate whose motives for advancement are not at all what they seem. Little does he know that his private life is being observed by Beatrice, played by Noomi Rapace, a neighbor whose apartment is situated directly across from his in a nearby building. Having witnessed what Victor is capable of firsthand, Beatrice threatens to blackmail him unless he agrees to kill someone who's caused her a great deal of pain, both physically and emotionally. The plans that Victor had made for himself now change drastically at this unexpected complication.
So first and foremost, I have to say that I really enjoyed this movie, and one of the reasons why was Colin Farrell and Noomi Rapace. I really enjoyed these two damaged people and their relationship that blossomed out of a really weird and awkward and terrible situation.
I enjoyed that aspect of their character dynamic as well, where you had these two characters both set on this destructive path of revenge for different reasons who managed to find each other and also in each other, begin healing. But I really don't feel that their character arcs were served very well by the overall plot of the movie, which I found a little excessively bloated, padded, you can say, and where it seemed a little too long to get to the point, and seemed to get bogged down in over-stylization. Now, don't get me wrong, I really appreciated the way that the atmosphere was established in this movie. It was very moody and dark, and it made great use of its environments, but it seemed that too much emphasis was placed on what was going on in the background that it detracted from the story of the characters themselves, and it seemed to protract the pacing of the movie.
Well, I'd have to disagree with you on that. I really enjoyed the slower pace of the movie, and I thought that with the slower moments in the movie, we're dealing with the characters. And one of the things I do agree with you on is that I did really enjoy the atmosphere in this movie. It was perfect. It felt New York City gritty crime drama.
I can understand what you mean. And I like movies that are paced a little bit more thoughtfully, but I really think there's a big difference between a deliberately paced movie and a movie in which it just suffers from slow pacing. And I really feel like those scenes you were talking about where it was supposed to be developing the character didn't really go far enough to reinforce the central themes of the movie. You just had this whole story of each of these characters set down this path of revenge, which ultimately would just lead to their ruin, who find each other and get diverted from that.
Well, I'm not saying that it's specifically their character. Well, it's also their character development, but more so the relationship between the characters in those slower parts of it, and their kind of romance that developed from those slower bits and them just talking to each other.
I guess so, but like when it takes as long to the second part of the second act to really start to understand what this movie is about, I just feel that there's something wrong with it. I do really agree with you, however, that made excellent use of the New York backdrop, and I really appreciated that you knew it was New York from the way that they established it, but they didn't put it down your throat like, oh,
yeah, they didn't have to bang it over your head to say, hey, this is New York City, and
they make it like every other crime or mafia movie.
Yeah, like that one that came out with Mark Wahlberg and Russell Crowe, which was supposed to be terrible.
Dead Man Down did have an excellent cast of actors. Of course, you had Colin Farrell and Noomi Rapace, which we said before, but you also have Terrence Howard as the central crime boss figure.
F. Murray Abraham
in the small...
As Colin Farrell's more, like, guiding force to his goal.
It's for him to, like, center his character. And I kind of wish they played that up a little bit more. You don't get to see F. Murray Abraham in a lot of movies these days, and I think he's sorely missed. And you even have...
Armand Desante.
Armand Desante is the other...
Yeah, he was really good.
Opposing crime boss.
But he was also underused in the movie, too.
Yeah. And also...
Dominic Cooper.
Yes, Tony Stark's dad was really good as well, I thought.
He does a really good New York City accent, but you can hear hints of his British accent. But he played the role really, really well.
Yeah, both him and Colin Farrell actually with the accents were pretty convincing.
Unlike his phone booth days where he was just way over the top with his accent.
There's an improvement from that, and not only an improvement of that, but this role is an improvement from a lot of stuff that he's been doing recently, so it's also an appreciated return to form for him as well.
And another thing to really like about this movie is the action. Even though there were only 3 major action set pieces, it was done really well, and I really liked the way they were shot, and it was just very frenetically paced without actually having to make it shaky cam.
And for a movie that was mainly drama, all these action sequences seemed to be integrated very well. I would say kind of with the exception of the third one.
Yeah.
Which it was exciting to see, but it's something else that I felt kind of detracted.
It was kind of degraded into an Arnold Schwarzenegger Stallone type action flick because it was a very unbelievable thing. They were going realistic, gritty tone throughout the whole entire movie, and that third act with that whole big action sequence kind of detracted from the tone and from the realistic nature of the movie.
Yeah, and there's supposed to be, by the end of it, there was supposed to be a certain poignancy about it that I think still succeeded in spite of the direction that they took the movie, but it's something that casts another shadow over the end development of Colin Farrell and Noomi Rapace's characters. I think it bears mentioning that this picture was directed by Niels Arden Oplev, who directed the original Swedish adaptations of the Millennium Trilogy, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Who Played with Fire, and Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest. And you could definitely see the influences from one to the other. This movie, it had sort of a thoughtful, ponderous quality about it that bears some similarity with the girl with the dragon tattoo, and in the style in which he directed that film. And
he also made Noomi Rapace look very, very pretty too. And it was amazing to me how he managed to make her look beautiful, even though she had all these scars. And that was because of her performance and how beautiful she was as a person, even though she was kind of going towards this dark path.
And she plays this character who's supposed to have suffered this horrible accident, and I think they did really well by showing, her outward scars mirroring the ones that she had inwardly. And I think, being the second collaboration with each other, probably also able to maximize what he wanted to get out of her and her character in this movie, and I think they do work very well together.
So I really enjoyed the characters. I really cared about the characters. I thought the action was really good, and I thought even though there were some slow parts, I thought it fit well with the story. So I'm gonna recommend you go see this movie.
I'll solidly recommend that you rent this movie. I don't think it's important to see in theaters. It was bloated, and I definitely feel it didn't do enough justice to its central characters or themes. However, I do feel it's worth viewing, if for no other reason than to see the dynamic between Colin Farrell and Noomi Rapace, and I really hope to see them work again together in the future. If you like Cinecynics, rate, comment, and subscribe.
And make sure you come back every Saturday for more movie news, recommendations, and reviews.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Blogspot.
And our question for you this week is, what is your favorite revenge story?